Right. Wow.
And
That's amazing.
let me ask you, how hard was that for you to muster the energy or the courage to push back a little bit?
It was nerve-wracking. I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, it was easy, I'm a pro at this, it was flawless. No. I grew up super shy. So actually preparing to bring this up was hard for me. And once I actually was chatting on the phone with my current boss again about asking for a higher starting salary, I had to physically keep telling myself like, okay, this is what you're gonna say, and then you're gonna shut up. You're not gonna say stuff like, oh yeah, well, like, but something lower would be okay if
Right.
that's not in the budget. No, I had to like physically bite my tongue and just
Yeah.
you know let him let him pick up the ball in his court and move forward there.
Yeah. Don't
Right.
fill the quiet space.
Right.
The quiet space makes everybody uncomfortable, including the person you're negotiating with.
Yes.
Exactly. You bring up a good point. I think it's very easy for us to have those inner conversations about lack of self-worth or the lack of confidence. I don't deserve this. And, we look at the statistics around what individuals, women and individuals in marginalized communities feel like they have to have 60 to 70, 80% of the qualifications before they'll even go for a job versus 30, 40% for most straight white men. Just this kind of difference here. So those inner conversations may be kind of dragging us down, and we may need to, as you said, take a step back and even script it out and say, how could this conversation go? What kind of conversation do I want to have? But pay isn't the only place where we should be advocating for ourselves, right?
Yeah, definitely not. That's just one area that where you can self-advocate for. There are so many other ways, especially when it comes to finance too. So for example, if you're thinking, okay, well maybe I don't want to like start off with like knocking down my boss's door and saying, pay me more. How else can I self-advocate when it comes to finance? Well, are there different different subscriptions or different recurring monthly costs that you're currently paying that are possibly negotiable? You can reach out and see if that's taking place. Other ones that are more occasional than that might include, oh, well, was there some vendor or some store that charged you more than you actually should be charged. I ran into something like this pretty recently at the doctor's office. They had charged me extra for an appointment that shouldn't have been charged. So in that case, for me, self-advocating meant reaching out to the doctor's office and saying, "Hey, this was an incorrect charge. How can I work with you guys to get that taken off?" And in this case, the charge was a couple $100s that I luckily now do not have to pay because I chose self-advocacy and chose to really point it out and keep bringing it up to them until they finally were like, okay, I will work with you to get this fixed.
Yeah.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right. You did bring up a good point in the article, though, that sometimes when it comes to self-advocacy, we can go from being lacking confidence and shy and worried about doing this to the flip side of being a Karen, right? To almost being, we're going to march in with all of our guns blazing, right? And we're going to just blow people away with everything that we think we need and deserve, right? How do we find this balance? How do you tactfully say what it is that you think you deserve, or to tactfully say that, okay, this I didn't deserve this charge. This shouldn't be on here, or it should be a lot less. You have any suggestions there?
Yeah, definitely. So an essential skill when it comes to self-advocacy is definitely reading the room and understanding what strategy or what approach you should take to be best effective at to earn the goals that you want out of the interactions that you have with this. So in this case, with the doctor's office, I mean, I could have just barged in and said, like, I need to speak with the manager right now. But in this case of it being an incorrect charge, there's always the possibility of maybe the financial office like accidentally coded something that they shouldn't have, in which case it's an easy mistake. So once I bring it up to somebody who will listen to me, then that can be rectified right away. I would say if you're ever considering, like stomping in with guns blazing, it's only after you've exhausted every other alternative to it. Which in the article is why I was saying that's my frustration with Karens. They treat the guns blazing as the default instead of the last possible resort.
Right.
Well, and sometimes there's a woman in our credit card payoff course, and she is a master negotiator, and she has shared with the group several times how she's negotiated her credit card interest rates to be lower, how she's been able to get refunds and whatnot, and she goes in very personably and friendly. Whoever she's talking with on the phone or whoever she's meeting with face to face, she says hello. She calls them by name at least 3 times in the conversation. She asks them how their day is. If there's something topical like a sporting event or whatever, something recently just happened, asking them about that and identifying with them that, hey, they're also a person too. They just happen to be working for this company or this organization, and everybody wants to get to an amicable decision. So kind of go in a little bit friendly first. Don't come in like a Karen immediately, because you just make everything hostile, and you want to get people on your side to support you, right? And the best way to do that is to be friendly and nice.
Right.
Yes, that's a huge pro tip, especially in customer service roles. It's unfortunate that there's not as many people that should be as personable as they should be, and treating these customer service folks with just decency and respect. So when you do come in with decency and respect, I found several times whenever I call in and I do what this woman in your course does, these folks will bend over backwards to help me out quickly.
Like, wow, a nice person.
It's kind of funny because John and I both have been on the phones in customer service, and both of us have been wait staff and worked in restaurants and bars and things like that. And it's kind of like you can kind of tell when some customers have never been in those shoes, right? Because of the attitude they have. But you did bring up a very good point. Especially when you look at something and you think a mistake has been made, treat it like a mistake. We all make mistakes. Treat it like a mistake. It's just like when somebody cuts you off in traffic, you have the choice. You assume that they accidentally didn't see that it was an accident. They didn't see you there, that it wasn't intentional, or you can choose to treat it like it was an intentional and turn it into a road rage situation, right? And you don't want the road rage situation. Well, there can be a customer service road rage kind of situation too, right? They can just turn nasty against you and not want to help out. So it is, I think it's giving people the benefit of the doubt is a skill that or a mentality that a lot of us have lost in the world today.
Yeah, especially post-COVID.
Yeah.
You mentioned something when we in the discussion before the actual interview that I thought was quite brilliant, and I don't think a lot of people think about it as a way to self-advocate. But you mentioned about building a knocked out LinkedIn profile. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I think that's pretty sleuthful and not something I would have thought of.
Yes, I definitely can. So I credit a huge part of my getting the high paying job that I currently have to being able to self-market. And what is marketing your own skill set, if not another form of self-advocacy?
Right.
So for that, then a lot of it is about, again, just figuring out how you can get over your thoughts of low self-esteem, or, oh, I don't know if I can really, really sell myself in this way, to show that, no, you have these skills. These are skills that are in demand by employers. You've done impressive, amazing things in your roles. So share that with people and use that as a way to reach the jobs that you really want to have.
Yeah, I love that. And it's kind of it's a less it's a more passive way to advocate for yourself. It's a little bit less, I think, scary than walking up to somebody and saying, I expect XYZ. It's more like, just make a knocked out LinkedIn profile. You can do that at night while you're drinking wine and nobody needs to see you doing it. And then you just hit publish.
But I think maybe a part of the backstory of being able to do that, though, is to maybe know what you've done, right? Remembering what you've done, the times you have wowed people, the times that you've done a great job, the times that you got the kudos from your boss or your director or somebody higher in the company, all of those kinds of things. If we don't share those kinds of things, then they don't know that we are able to do those kinds of things, right? So we kind of almost need to have a reservoir of things to pull from or remember or keep track of those, right?
Right, exactly. It's so easy to lie awake at night, like cringing about some kind of work mistake you did like 5 years ago, or even like last week. But overall, you wouldn't keep these jobs if you weren't good at them. So even if you're overwhelmed with trying to think of, oh gosh, like what do I say? How do I go about this? It's also really helpful to just decide, okay, well, so instead of freaking out about my current or past roles, let's look at the future. What will be the best case scenario for my career? What kind of job title do I want? What kind of company do I want to work for? Once you kind of shift it that way, then you'll be able to think about, okay, well, now I know what title I want and what industry I want. What are they looking for? How can I best align myself to what they're looking for? And one of the biggest pieces of advice I have there is to look at different job ads for those titles that you want, and seeing, what's the verbiage that they use? What are the words and phrases that they use in that? And then which of those words and phrases can you take and then put on your resume and LinkedIn profile? Doing that is how I figured out to use all of the different industry jargon when it comes to marketing, where I can talk your ear off now about KPIs and my marketing tech stack all you want. And so doing that research and putting in the work for that, it's a more, as you said, a more passive way to approach self-advocacy, but it's still a very effective strategy to do that.
100%.
Exactly. It gives you that foundation to be able to kind of say to the employer, look, this is what I've already been able to do, right? And they get to see then, you may wow them in advance with your online resume, so to speak, with your LinkedIn profile, that you don't have to go so far when it comes to advocating for yourself, right? You may automatically get bumped up in that salary range to a place where you are maybe comfortable with, or it doesn't have to be a whole lot more that you have to ask for.
But always ask for at least 10% more than what they offer you.
Yeah.
Never settle until they say no.